Tonight, you are going to look at someone and decide whether you trust them. You won't think about it. You won't weigh the evidence. Your brain will simply hand you a verdict, and you will believe it. And here is the strangest part. That verdict was mostly decided by their face. Not what they said, not how they acted, their face. You have been doing this your entire life. Every stranger on the street, every new coworker, every face that flashes across your screen, your brain scans it, scores it, and files a threat assessment before you have consciously registered the person exists. And when a face triggers that alarm, when something about it feels wrong, asymmetrical, off, your brain doesn't just dislike it, it panics. This is not vanity. This is not cruelty. This is one of the oldest survival systems your ancestors ever built. And it is still running inside you right now, completely unchanged, in a world it was never designed for. Let's go back, way back. For most of human existence, your ancestors lived in small groups, rarely more than 150 people. Evolutionary anthropologist Robin Dunbar famously calculated this number as the upper limit of stable social bonds the human brain can maintain. In those groups, every face was known. Every face had a history. So when your ancestor encountered an unfamiliar face, the brain had one immediate job: figure out if this person is safe. And faces, it turns out, carry enormous amounts of biological information. Symmetry in a face signals genetic health. A perfectly balanced face suggests that during development, no serious illness, parasite, or genetic mutation disrupted the growth process. Asymmetry, on the other hand, is a red flag the body uses to broadcast stress. Your brain learned, over hundreds of thousands of years, to read these signals instantly. Not because ancient humans were shallow, because ancient humans were trying to survive. But here is where it gets stranger. The fear response goes deeper than simple preference. In a landmark study, researchers Janine Willis and Alexander Todorov at Princeton University showed participants photographs of unfamiliar faces for as little as 1/10 of a second. That is faster than a single eye blink. In that sliver of time, participants confidently rated those faces on trustworthiness, competence, and threat level. And when the same participants were given unlimited time to study the same faces, their judgments barely changed. Your brain is not taking its time with this. It is not gathering evidence. It is firing a prehistoric alarm system at full speed, and then your conscious mind rationalizes the verdict afterward. Now think about what that alarm system was originally calibrated to detect. Disfigurement in the ancient world often meant disease. Lesions, swelling, asymmetry, unusual coloring. These were legitimate warning signs of illness that could spread through a small tribe and kill everyone. Psychologists call this the behavioral immune system. It is the idea, developed extensively by researcher Mark Schaller at the University of British Columbia, that your brain has a second immune system that operates not in your blood, but in your behavior. Before your body ever encounters a pathogen, your mind tries to steer you away from it. And that system is exquisitely sensitive. Dangerously sensitive, in fact. It does not require actual disease. It only requires the visual suggestion of it. Anything that pattern matches against the stored template of threat, unusual facial features, visible scarring, asymmetry, certain skin conditions, triggers the alarm. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a face that genuinely signals danger and a face that merely resembles one. So it panics either way. This is why faces with conditions like facial palsy, severe scarring from burns, or certain genetic syndromes provoke such deep discomfort in observers who have never been taught to respond that way. It is not conscious cruelty. It is an ancient alarm misfiring in a modern context, and it runs in every direction. You do not just fear other people's unusual faces, you fear your own. Research by psychologist Thomas Cash at Old Dominion University found that people with body dysmorphic disorder, a condition in which a person becomes obsessively convinced that a part of their body, often their face, is grotesquely abnormal, show hyperactivation in the same threat detection circuits that fire when we perceive danger in others. Your brain can turn the panic inward. It can convince you that your own reflection is the threatening face it needs to be afraid of. Think about what that means. The same prehistoric software that kept your ancestor alive on the savannah is now capable of making a person terrified to look in the mirror. Here is the twist that should reframe everything you just heard. The faces that trigger this alarm the most powerfully are often perfectly healthy. They are simply unusual, And unusual in the context of your brain's threat detection means only one thing. It does not match the stored template of familiar. Safe does not mean symmetrical. Safe means known. Your ancestors feared unfamiliar faces not primarily because of what those faces looked like, but because those faces belonged to strangers. And strangers in the Paleolithic world were a genuine threat. They competed for resources. They carried diseases from different regions. They had unknown intentions. The visual details of the face were secondary data. The primary data was, I have never seen this person before. Researcher Robert Cialdini, in his work on influence and social behavior, describes how deeply the familiar is coded as safe across virtually every human culture ever studied. Familiarity does not just reduce fear. It actively generates warmth, trust, and affiliation, regardless of the actual qualities of the person or thing being perceived. Which means your brain is not really reading faces. It is reading novelty. It is measuring how far a face deviates from what it already knows. And then it is calling that deviation dangerous. You are walking around right now with a threat detection system calibrated to a world that no longer exists. A world where your tribe was 150 people and every stranger was a potential enemy. A world where an asymmetrical face might genuinely have meant disease. A world where novelty was risk and familiarity was survival. That world is gone, but the system is still running. Every time you feel a flicker of discomfort at an unusual face, at a scar, at asymmetry, at features that simply look different from what you grew up seeing, that is your ancestor's brain trying to protect you from a threat that isn't there. It is a 200,000-year-old alarm going off in a building that is perfectly safe. The panic is real. The danger is not. And now, every time you look at a face, any face, and feel that ancient wordless verdict land in your chest before you have had a single conscious thought, you will know exactly what is happening. Your ancestors are still scanning the horizon. They just borrowed your eyes to do it.